Hey everybody, welcome into another episode of the Talk Anime Podcast. Podcast. So you might notice a weird intro on this episode here. Unfortunately, my astounding, fantastic, wonderful, amazing co-host Justin couldn't join this week to record. He's closing on a new house for him and his fiance, so this week, I pulled in a familiar voice for some people who have kept up with recent episodes. My good friend, John.
Yay! Hello! I don't have a house. I'm not tied down by things.
John is not tied down by material objects, such as a house.
Well, that's not what I said. I said I don't have a house.
Do you live in a cardboard box, John?
I don't want to talk about it.
I'm so sorry to hear this. How are you getting
personal.
electricity to record this?
I don't want to talk about that either.
Oh, okay.
Just do the podcast, Jared.
All right. Well, before we get into today's topic of our summer review, please give us a like, subscribe, give us 5 stars on the audio realm. Make sure you hit that little bell on the YouTube to know when our videos go live on there as well. Feel free to follow us on Twitter. Where else? Instagram, TikTok. Oh, and we have a Discord. Yeah, join the Discord. Links for all those will be in the description of this episode. But
Or, don't do any of that. This isn't my podcast. I don't care.
Shut your mouth. Do it.
Why?
Do it.
You wanted me here.
I did.
Take what you get.
Oh, no. This is spiraling downhill so quickly already. Mistakes were made.
Let's just get it rolling. What's the first episode? What's the first show? What do you want to talk about? Why am I here?
Well, John, we're here to review the summer season and what we thought.
Summer sucked. I was trapped in my house all summer.
As was I.
/podcast.
Yay. Anyways, first show up here is the second season of Re:Zero, Starting Life in Another World.
That it do.
Oh.
That it do.
Synopsis of this season.
Yeah,
Even after
have to tell me that.
I know. This is for the listeners.
And me.
Yes. So basically, it was just a continuation of the story. It continued right after they defeated the White Whale. And in the very first episode, we immediately get heartbreak with Subaru. Well, him being the only person who can remember Rem. And it kind of spins off from there into this convoluted yet amazing story in lots of schadenfreude. The story was the studio that continued to make this was White Fox, who did an excellent job this season, I might say. And this aired on Crunchyroll with 13 episodes, and we're going to be getting another 13 episodes this winter season to finish up this season. What'd you think, John?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head with convoluted. I very much liked this. It was great to watch, but I gotta be honest, I don't understand a lot of what they were talking about. And I know you and I think, watched all of these episodes together, and I think you picked up on that. I was thoroughly confused for most of the time. Like, Roswald? What's his deal? I have no idea. Yeah, that guy. He's got this book. Apparently he can see the future in it. I think they discussed it a few years ago in an earlier episode. I don't know, but it's confusing to me. But I liked it.
Yeah, see, that was... It was a very confusing season. You had to remember some aspects from the first season, which, God, that was like 2015, I believe. So 5-year difference in between seasons coming out. So if you hadn't recently rewatched it or could remember some more of the details, I could see where people could struggle. But it's been a very complicated plot line this season for 13 episodes.
Yeah, I think I would definitely recommend watching the earlier seasons and then probably just binging all of this down. Give yourself enough time to process the episodes, but don't let it so much time pass that you start to forget it, because you're going to want to keep all the plot details in your head till the end. Maybe you can make more sense out of it than me.
Yeah, no, and This was one of the few series, I think there were about 3 of them, this being the most important to me this season, that we actually kept up watching pretty consistently on the day it would come out.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought this season had excellent further character development for Subaru, and especially for some more character development for Amelia, to a degree. Though it kind of fell off a little bit towards the last, 2 or 3 episodes?
Yeah, I felt like for the last probably month it was airing, Amelia really kind of took a side role in the show. She was
Right.
kind of the goal, less of a character.
Yeah. Where the previous 8 or 9 episodes, I felt like we actually got a little bit more to her character besides her just being the waifu for Subaru, essentially.
Yeah, but we don't need her anymore because Subaru has a new waifu, r/Cult of Echidna.
r/Cult of Echidna.
Yay!
New best girl this season. I loved Echidna. She was a lot of fun.
She's pretty great.
She's a witch. It was great. She made great comments to Subaru. She was just blatantly like, yeah, I'm a witch. Of course I'm going to do bad things.
Yeah, she was a pretty good character on the surface until you started learning enough about her character towards the end of the show. Subaru was like, wait, you really are messed up. You are the witch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and I want you all to know I tuned in every week to see how badly Subaru would get tortured.
Oh.
Week by week.
Man, it was a brutal season for Subaru once it started going.
I don't know. I think wherever that season he was locked in the cave for years, that one was the worst. I think he got off easy here.
That's probably fair. I don't know. He was trapped in that dungeon for a while in this one as well. And then there was the dungeon he was trapped in for a little bit, for an episode, or a part of an episode.
Nah, brah. Part of an episode.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying it's as bad.
Does not equal complete mental and physical breakdown.
No.
I did not see his soul splitting in this season the way it did in earlier seasons.
This is true. I will say the time that it probably got close was when we got to see the Schadenfreude of all the deaths he's had, or 2/3 of the deaths he's had in the entire series so far, in a minute and a half of an episode.
Yeah,
that was pretty brutal.
Yep, the little brains started coming out his ears in that episode, and then all the other witches had to come put them back together.
Yeah, it was. Oh man, that was so much fun. Trying not to give away too many spoilers for this season, but there's a lot of good moments. I know we've given away some.
Probably should have put a spoiler warning in there somewhere.
Probably. Oh well.
Yeah.
But yeah,
your podcast.
Yeah, you're right. But no, this was this was definitely my favorite show this season. I feel like it wasn't even really close for me as the season dragged on.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you. I was
excited.
I very much liked this, but from some of the shows we have coming up, I think I liked them more for what they were. If we're talking about the shows in of themselves, I think that ReZero is going to turn out to be a better show. But for these individual seasons, I think some of the later ones had a better showing.
That might be fair, because we got some conclusions on the shows.
Yeah, and I love that. And that's just not something you see often in shows that come to an end. And they tied it up in a nice little package and sent it on its way, and it gives you a nice warm fuzzy at the end.
I did enjoy that. We got that with a couple we were watching, which was a nice change of pace from just getting a half-baked ending and being like, hey, well, if you want more, go read the manga.
Yes.
But anyways, that was ReZero Season 2. It's quite excellent. Highly recommend it.
Start with Season 1.
Yes.
And then go to Season 2.
Yeah,
as we do.
You will not understand Season 2 at all.
You probably won't understand Season 2 anyway.
Maybe not, but we're looking forward to that when concluding this winter, at least for the season.
Kind of like looking at an abstract painting.
Yeah.
It's still good. You just don't get it.
Next up here, I know this was not one that you watched, John, but this is one I watched and completed, and I really enjoyed it, and that's Rent a Girlfriend.
I see girls in dresses in the picture over there, and that tells me this probably isn't a show for me.
Probably not for you. No, definitely not for you. But it was very good. It centers around Kazuya, who just had his girlfriend break up with him, and this is during college. So to kind of get over the fact that he's upset and everything that she broke up with him, he discovers that you can rent a girlfriend to go on a date with you. So he does that, and that brings in our second main character, Chizuru. And she is excellent this entire show. I absolutely loved her character, but it turns into like shenanigans where Kazuya's grandmother thinks that it's his real girlfriend, and apparently Chizua's grandmother and Kazuya's grandmother are friends. So it spirals down into them having to put on this facade of a relationship through the show. And it also drags in more characters. It drags in Kazuya's ex-mommy, who's absolutely horrible character. In a good way. Like, she's very much portrayed as just a shitty person. And that's kind of what she is.
I saw Gigix's video on this. Isn't this kind of like a softcore porn?
No. Not at all.
Oh.
It has parts of it where, like, Kazuya, like, while he's alone in his apartment, he, like, fantasizes about his ex, and it shows obvious signs of him, for lack of a better word, fapping, but never, like, shows anything. That's about as far as it gets with any type of a fan service.
I see.
It's more about Kazuya's character growth throughout the show, from him being just kind of a shitty college student person to like him actually being able to like grow like real feelings for a person instead of just like more of a lusting feeling.
I see.
And I really enjoyed this. It was 12 episodes. It aired on Crunchyroll. It was done by TMS Entertainment. And it was a fun little ride of a show. And they did announce that it's going to be getting a second season as well, which is always fun because of how it kind of ended on kind of a little bit of a cliffhanger. The opening for it, which we didn't even get to talk about those with ReZero. The opening, the ending for that was a banger when you actually did get to hear them.
What are you insinuating?
What?
Nothing.
Oh, I just said they didn't play them every episode. That's all.
Of course.
But for anybody that watched Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai, we had the same artist, the Peggies, do the opening for Rent a Girlfriend, which was excellent. It was definitely one of my favorites of the season. And yeah, this was a solid, cute little show. It's got a little bit too much hype from people that I've seen around on the internet, but it is solid, and Chizua is probably one of my favorite characters from this season, other than Echidna.
Can't beat Echidna.
Oh, you really can't. Best girl.
Echidna was dope.
But that was Rent a Girlfriend. Definitely check that out. I really enjoyed this one.
I will take your word for it.
Next, that brings us to The God of High School.
Here's one I watched.
This is one we watched about every Monday.
Yeah.
So essentially, this started out just as, everybody's favorite arc from any shonen ever, as the tournament arc. Everybody loves a good tournament arc. And
this is tournament arc the anime.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
We watched quotations, high school kids beating each other up. The whole show.
Yeah, it was fun. This was adapted from Korean manhwa, done by Studio Mappa, licensed by Crunchyroll, and it was very fast paced. We had our three main characters. There was Jin, Mori, and Dewey.
Han Dewey, Jin Marie.
Yeah.
And Mira Yu.
Yep.
Yep.
And
yep.
This one is kind of hard to explain. It starts out as just a martial arts tournament, which goes into them having some slightly more upgraded powers, to them pulling out essentially like stands from JoJo's or like personas from Persona. It was,
Yeah.
it took a wild turn.
Yeah. It's kids beating each other up, and then they take in power of the gods, and then they let their supposed gods beat each other up while they're beating the kids up. And it's great. And the kids are fighting, and the big godlike figures are fighting, and everybody's fighting all the time, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, like Mappa did an outstanding job with the fighting animation.
Yeah, I think
About
they
the
did
only
too.
gripe I would personally have with the show is I felt the pacing was just like 0 to 100 and never let off the pedal.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I wanted a
I
little
forgive
more.
it because this show, like I keep saying, it's basically about watching kids beat each other up, and it's
Yeah,
wonderful. But when they incorporate the plot and the details and stringing the show together, uh, probably for at least the first half of the episode, it's like the episodes are barely linked together, and it's almost like you're watching the characters have vignettes to build their characters. Like in one specific episode, you watch one of the main characters enter a relationship, start to get married, and annul the marriage, and beat up the soon to be husband inside of like half of one episode.
yeah, it wasn't
And
even a
it's
complete episode. It was like 2/3 of that
yeah.
episode.
Yeah, it was like this is just too fast. Like
Yeah, I think that was.
surely they
I
didn't
feel like that was
write
episode
this that
3 or 4, and
Yeah.
that's one where I was gonna get to. That was like my biggest gripe. And
Yeah.
it felt like they don't know if Crunchyroll is going to renew this for another season. So they tried to fit as much into like 13 episodes as they possibly could to get like somewhat of a satisfying ending if it isn't continued.
Yeah, it does feel like that. It's like they had a goalpost and they're like, how do we get in 13 episodes from nothing to that goalpost?
Yeah.
And they strung it out as best they could, which is a shame that it feels that way. It's an excellent show. Y'all
Oh,
should go watch
it was very
but
fun.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and it had some really epic fighting moments where I was just like, oh my god, like just like yelling, like what the hell?
Yeah, and it's like 90% of the show is high energy. They keep some mystique about what's happening in the show so you can enjoy the action and look forward to what's coming.
Right. The
Pretty good.
The other thing that I didn't enjoy was I felt like we just didn't get explanations about things. We just saw them happen. And
That's true too.
and I would have liked a little more exposition on like some more details, because we got like these two different groups fighting against each other, and you don't really even know why.
So that's true. I'm willing to forgive it though because we're only one season in, 13 episodes down, and from a typical viewer point of view or even from a character point of view, people aren't going to have those answers. So I think it can be an artistic choice to not give that information up at this point.
I can agree with
So
that.
yeah, I'm willing to forgive that for this show. If they go on another couple seasons and they don't explain anything, well, then this is going to be like a CW show, like Arrow or something.
Right.
Garbage.
I just would have liked maybe a little bit more of an introduction to some characters that just like started randomly popping up. Like we had the old man that popped up and saved them from the big calamity in like the second to last episode.
So,
And I didn't.
I was
I
I was
assumed he was
okay
just
with that.
one of the. He was what, one of the 6? Is that what they called him, or was it the 7?
I don't
Something
know.
like that.
I don't remember. What my take on that though, even with the other guy, the 7 that we saw in the end,
Mm-hmm.
it gave me the vibe that there are bigger forces at play in this world that we have not been introduced to yet. And what we're seeing at the finale of this show is just our introduction into the world that it is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my take on that. So
That's a fair take.
Yeah, I expect we will learn who that old man was, and that's part of the mystique that I was talking about, to try and hold your interest some.
Right.
You
And
know that.
I really want this to continue. I
Oh
really
yeah.
hope Crunchyroll renews it. And I hope we get an extension of episodes, like maybe do a 26 episode season.
Mm-hmm.
So the episodes can breathe a little bit more. Because it really felt that like that's what they needed. Was just, even if like, I know that's not something they could have done, but if this could have been stretched out into like 16 episodes or something, it just felt like there needed to be just a little bit more of that breathing room between fights and things like that. Just for a little bit more development would have been much appreciated. But it was still excellent watch. I would still recommend it to anybody who enjoys just straight up action. You really can't
Yes,
beat it for that.
this is pretty high on my list of fun shows to watch.
Yeah, and I mean, even if it doesn't continue, I feel like we got a satisfying ending to the arc that they went with in this season,
Mm-hmm.
for the most part. And the way they teased some stuff at the end of the last episode, it looks like I would assume we're probably going to get a second season. I would be surprised if we don't.
Yeah, this show is great. I bet we get a second season.
Same. And that was The God of High School, airing on Crunchyroll. Next, that brings us to Uzaki-chan Wants to Hang Out. I know this is one that's not up Dave's alley at all.
That little character's eyeballs are like half the size of their face.
Yes.
That's a glaring indication to me that this is not a show for me.
This one was actually pretty funny, and I really enjoyed the interaction of characters. It had to do with Sakurai Shinichi and then his underclassman Uzaki Hana. And it was just kind of them, like, their day-to-day life where she just annoys him with hanging out with him. But they are good friends. And that's like pretty much the gist of the show. It's a pretty simple plot, but it was pretty fun. You had characters. There was where Sakurai, he was working at a cafe, and the cafe owner and his daughter were always pushing him and Uzaki-chan to try to see if they were going to get into a relationship or not. And then you had one of Sakurai's best friends that was like shipping them to get them together in a relationship, and you just had kind of antics with that. But as a pure like slice of life comedy romance, with there were a few little hints of ecchi in it, but it wasn't too over the top. It was fairly wholesome for the most part. And the main character, Sakurai, absolutely adores cats, which was a win for me. Especially in one episode where they went to a cat cafe. It was quite adorable. But I really don't have a lot to say on this one. Each episode was kind of its own little thing. Not much carried over besides Sakurai and Uzaki's relationship building to a degree. But it was definitely a solid show. I know this got a little flack online for character designs, because one of them was Uzaki was very well endowed in the bust region.
I can see that in the cover art.
Yes.
Tell me, my friend, Uzaki-chan, you said?
Yeah.
How old is this character supposed to be?
20. This is college.
That does not look a day over middle school.
That's part of the controversy for it, but they are both in college.
If you say so.
That's the age that they went with. They even have them in class and stuff, like eating lunch.
It's just
in
a
college.
number, right?
No, it's not. It can be once you're over the age of 18.
No further comments, Your Honor.
No further comments. That's Uzaki-chan Wants to Hang Out. It's actually pretty fun comedy. And check that out if you're a fan of a comedy slice of life romance show. Oh, and that was airing on Funimation. And that brings us to probably the biggest surprise of this past season. Justin and I were just dumping all over the show prior to the season, being like, there's no way this is going to be good. This looks like hot trash. And that is the Misfit of Demon King Academy.
Oh yeah, this show was absurd.
Oh, I
It was
loved
fun.
it. Basic synopsis of the show. You have Anos, the Demon Lord, who's just been reincarnated. And he's obviously immensely overpowered. And he grows up in what, like a month, John?
Something like that.
Yeah, he goes from baby to like 18 or like 16 or 18 or something like that. Whatever it was in like a month. And gave himself his own name as a baby. Just talks.
He did. He popped out of his mom and they said, what should we name him? And before they could finish, he said in a very masculine baby voice, Enos Vodagold. Would recommend this show. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
It's absurd.
Yeah. So this was airing on Crunchyroll as well. So for a show to do an overpowered character, this might be like one of my favorites. Besides like an isekai genre one, like reincarnated as a slime or something like that. Like, I felt like this did like the overpowered character nearly perfectly, to the point where it was like, this whole show was serious, but it was comical how overpowered he was.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you. I don't think this show was serious.
Really? I thought it was to most of the show. It felt like it was. Like, Anos took himself very seriously.
It was... I mean, yes, Anos took himself seriously. It was not written to be a comedy, but it was, I don't know, campy or corny, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's you just watch the show and you're like, come on, what's happening? And it's part of the enjoyment of how like stupid the things happening are.
Right. Where I was saying
it
was serious was like, the show takes itself seriously, but as a viewer, we don't take it seriously, you know?
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're supposed to.
No, I don't think you are either. I was saying like more like the tone of the show was it was more serious, but as a viewer, you find it more comical.
Yeah, like you'd understand it if you watched it. So these kids are supposed to be in the Demon King Academy so that they can train up to try and be the next Demon King or support the next Demon King or something like that.
I felt like it was to support the next Demon King because they knew the actual Demon King was going to reincarnate at some point.
Whatever, it's a trope so they can have a high school setting.
Right.
About the only thing these kids ever learn about is I think they learn like 3 magic spells in the whole show. And then they go out in the woods and they practice building castles. And for the entire show, the magical castles that they build never get explained. Like, no. Apparently that's how magical combat works in the show, is you summon castles, and whoever breaks the castle first, the other guy wins. I think. I don't know. But there was a scene where Enos Vodagold picked up the enemy's castle and lobbed it across the forest.
Oh my god, that part was hilarious. He just chucked it like 3 miles away or more.
Yeah, and he was like spinning them like tops and just lobbing bombs all over the place.
He killed a man with his heartbeat.
Oh yeah.
And that was like the first episode, or like the second.
Yeah.
Just killed a man with his heartbeat, and then brought him back to life multiple times just to kill him again.
Yes, and I don't want to give too many spoilers for this show, but just let me say there is a fan club, cheerleader club for Enos Vodagold.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And this fan club plays a pivotal role in the show.
I never saw it coming.
The most hilarious way.
Oh,
like, this is something where you look at it, it's clearly fan servicey, clearly stupid, and that is not something that I go for in my anime shows. But in this one in particular, I it was too ridiculous. I could not help myself but to find it hilarious because how do you how just watch it, please.
Yes.
I can't hardly describe my feelings on it. It's
Man,
a fun show.
it was
And
so much fun from episode 1 to episode 13.
yes, and it comes to an end at the end of the 13th episode. They're not going to shoot more of this, are they?
There's no way. This is like a
Yeah.
13 episode and done show.
Yeah, and it was good. I would recommend it. You could probably bang down the whole show in like 2.5 hours, and it's well worth your time.
Oh yeah, you can easily finish this one in an afternoon or evening, late night, whenever. So it's just 13 episodes, so it's not going to take you too long to get through it, and it had a very satisfying conclusion to it. And that's the
4
Misfit.
hours.
Yeah,
Takes
4
hours.
And that's the Misfit of Demon King Academy, which aired on Crunchyroll. And that brings us to one that I did not watch, but you did, John. Fire Force Season 2. The first half.
Yep. And I would just like to take this time to reiterate to Jared and all of his viewers that Fire Force is an excellent TV show, and you should be watching it. Your host of the anime podcast, Jared, is not watching Fire Force, and I don't know why.
I've
show is
tried
great.
multiple times.
Well,
I really want to like it.
You lack discipline. Watch the show, Jared. Watch the show.
I've tried
This
twice.
is great.
Twice
So,
I've tried.
Let's see. The season 2, episode 1 was really just a primer for season 1 and what the show was. You know, it's kind of a do nothing episode, but it was just excellent. It kind of embodied what the show was. I actually made Jared specifically watch season 2, episode 1, and he thoroughly enjoyed it.
I did, yes.
So I think that's a good place to start with the show. Watch season 2, episode 1, and then go back and start at the first episode. But anyway, this season, the characters, they found some information about where the source of the flame was from, like, their prehistory from before the end of the world, and it was outside of their little prefecture. So they went off into the barren wastes to go learn about the source of the flame, and they found I forget the name of that reactor that they have in their main city, but they found another one out there, and there was all these forest critters that were like they could talk, and it was their forest that was powered by the power plant, but demons had taken over. So the first half was about our Fire Force friends saving the forest and taking it back for the little critters. And we learned some things through doing that. Moving on from there, we came back to our city, and let's see, there was just several small little plot bits that happened there. Joker and what's his name? The super powerful guy. I don't remember his name. Jared, scroll down on your page so I can find his name. Yeah. Let me find him here. Benimaru Shinman. That's it. Joker and Benimaru went off and had their own little hijinks together, and it was a fun time. Those characters go great together. They had a couple episodes of that, and then the Fire Force got back together, and they found another bunker to go storm, and it was fun. And that's kind of my rambly description of how the first half of season 2 went. It is still airing. It's got a full 23, 24? Yeah, there it is.
Should
24 run. Yeah, 24 episode run. So it's probably going to go to Christmas, something like that.
It'll continue into up into the end of this season, so it should be about the very end of December, beginning of January, right before the winter season starts.
Yeah. So we got a while to flesh out the plot lines they got going now. It looks like they're just starting to get into a bigger plot line, but in general, for this show, it's First season was great. Second season has been even better. I would say I feel like I'm watching a comic book with this show. There's drama, there's plot, there's action, adventure in every episode. Something happens, somebody gets beat up, something bursts into flames all the time, and it's so much fun to watch.
Nice.
Jared, you should watch this show.
I really want to get into it.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yep. You should. You should.
I want to.
Yep. That's all I really have to say about it. It's good.
Check it out. Definitely watch it.
Yes. Yes.
And again, that was Fire Force Season 2. Next, that is going to take us to Peter Grill and the Philosopher's Time. John, I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to like anything about this.
The genre says harem, comedy, ecchi, fantasy. No.
And the rating says R+ for mild nudity. This is not for Dave. This is pure trash. Pure garbage.
It's not rated well.
No, it is not.
Just tell your listeners about your trash.
Every
I'm
season,
just gonna sit here and listen.
there is that one show that is just entertaining, and you don't know why. You don't understand it. You know it's horrible. You know it's complete garbage and filth, but you watch it anyways.
It's because you like looking at little painted anime titties.
Maybe. But it also might be because I enjoy the comedy. Or I just enjoy harems. I don't know. But this show, it was a 5.58 as my anime list says. It was not great. It was pretty mediocre.
Did you watch this in front of your mother?
No. I wouldn't even watch this in front of my girlfriend, and I'd watch just about anything in front of her. I wouldn't watch this in front of any of you boys.
Why are you recommending this to people?
I'm not. I'm saying.
So why are we talking about it?
Because I need to fill airtime, Dave.
Oh, all right. Well, we got what, 3 more shows to talk about?
2 more after this. Anyways, Peter Grill and the Philosopher's Time. If you like ecchi, if you like anime boobies, if you like other aspects of anime girls, such as having a harem, the show is for you. And it did have some funny moments, but it is trash taste for trash people like myself.
Do you remember that one time when that character's clothes all blew off? That was funny, wasn't it?
I think that might have happened in this.
I bet it did. Don't watch this show, guys. Don't listen to Jared. He's got a dirty mind.
Moving on.
All right, speaking of trash, this is where I come in.
We have Gibby-8, or as we often refer to it as, Jabated.
Jabated. All right, so listen to this, guys. This show sounds awesome. All right,
read the full synopsis. The full synopsis here.
No, I'm not going to read that synopsis. It doesn't matter. So the show is about these. The show starts with 2 ninja warriors from one of them. What is a ninja, and the other one is a. All right,
One's a ninja, one's a samurai from the Edo period of Japan.
Yeah, I guess somebody should read the synopsis. That's what they
The
are.
synopsis is pretty great.
Fine, read it. The show can earn that much.
Okay. The story takes place in Japan. The year is 2030, and Earth has been completely overrun by a viral disease named Jibia that turns infected people into various different monsters based on their age, sex, and race. A samurai and a ninja from the early Edo period travel together through time and arrive in a ruined Japan to aid a professor working on a cure for the virus. Together they fight countless Jibia monsters, outlaws, and other fierce foes on their journey to save mankind.
Thank you, Jared.
You're
So
welcome.
I was wrong. That synopsis did a pretty good job of describing the show.
Didn't it?
And yeah, it did. I should have let you read that to begin with. And going into this show, you might be with me and thinking that sounds awesome. And let me tell you, for the first 5 to 10 minutes of this show, I was stoked. Samurai ninjas coming from back in time to fight monsters out in the streets in a post-apocalyptic world? Sign me up for that! But then you realize, oh, these guys don't know how to make TV. They just drew cardboard models of people and pushed them at each other to make what they called an anime. And they didn't really write a plot. They just kind of wrote a bunch of characters gasping while the samurai character killed everything. And it was not good. In fact, I'm not even taking a large leap to say that this was the worst anime I have ever seen. Which I know I don't have a very big pool of anime that I've seen, but I would recommend you watching maybe the first episode of this just to understand how incomprehensibly bad it is. It's ridiculous. Everything.
Yeah.
Everything is bad.
Yeah.
The audio is bad. The opening credits are bad. The animation is just the worst.
The dialogue.
The dialogue is bad. The plot is bad. There's
not one redeeming factor about this show.
There is nothing good about this. Not one thing. But we can have fun in a Mystery Science Theater style by putting this on and mocking it as it airs.
That is the best way to watch this, and the only acceptable way to watch this is with a group of friends to mock it.
Yes, I am currently on episode 3. I intend to get through it someday.
Good luck to you. John, his anime pool is a little bit more limited to a degree. It's not bad. You've seen a decent amount now.
Yeah, I guess I've seen a good bit.
I've seen over 300 plus. Ooh. And I can firmly say this is the worst anime I've ever taken in with my 2 eyes. 100% the absolute worst. We've said everything bad about it. There was also terrible attempts at CGI. It was horrible. I implore anybody who thinks any other anime you've seen that is popular to other people and you call it bad, no, you don't know what bad anime is. Watch Gibby 8.
Yeah, you think you know of something worse? Watch this. If you still think yours is worse, send it to Jared so he can forward it to me so I can watch what you found that you think is worse.
Let's make a game of this. What is the worst anime you have ever seen, and is it worse than Gibby 8? We will let you know.
I realize it's subjective, but guess what? We are your subjective judges.
Yes.
Just for some background knowledge, we are looking at plot synopses on My Anime List, and ReZero had it ranked at number 53, which I assume is for global anime rankings.
Yes.
This show is ranked 10,663.
It is not good.
Out of, I presume, less than 10,700.
I don't know how many total shows. I'm actually really curious now how many total shows are ranked on My Anime List. But this has to be bad. One of the worst.
This doesn't even have any of the anime tropes that I hate in it.
No.
It's none of them.
For my final negative comment on this, or one of them, this wasn't even based off a manga, a light novel, a game, nothing. This was an original by this studio. They chose to make this. And
how do you
God,
start
it's bad.
So right and immediately go so wrong? It's like they blew their production budget on cocaine and was like, oh no, we got to turn something out. Let's go hire some
exactly
guy
what
over
it felt
in
like.
China to crank out an anime. Use Microsoft Paint or something to make it.
So, here's what I find even funnier about like all of this to a degree. Like if you look at the background, Give-8 was created by Give-8 Project, a global IP development group consisting of internationally renowned Japanese creators such as Yoshitaka Amano, Final Fantasy, Nakoe Shirazawa, Biohazard / Resident Evil, among some others. Like world-renowned like Shinmist group for like for music or something. Like apparently some amazing guitarist and some really popular composer. And this is what came out of this. That money, whatever money they got for this, did not go to that show. That went to blackjack, hookers, and cocaine.
Yeah, half of their internationally renowned Japanese creators made the opening credits song.
Yep. Which was horrible.
I wouldn't go that far.
Okay, the song was decent. The animation.
Yeah, no, we're talking about the song, because
Horrendous.
these guys did do the animation. They did the song. The song was alright. You know, it's nothing to write home about, but it's alright. But
Wow.
been on. Did you ever find out how many shows were on my anime list so we could know how far to the bottom the show is?
No, I don't know how to see like the total amount.
Alright, we'll figure it out later.
I do want to
show
look that
notes
up
or
and see if we
something.
can figure it out, yeah.
Do you do show notes? Is that
Yes,
a thing?
yes I do.
Yeah, stick it in show notes.
There we go. That's a good idea. We'll figure it
Look
out.
it up in post.
Anyways, that was Gibi-8, the worst anime of all time.
Subjectively. By your hosts.
Yes. And that takes us to our last one that we watched this season.
Except for the one you forgot.
What?
Deca-Dence.
What did I forget?
Appare-Ranman.
Oh, that's right, because okay, so we'll do that next. That's my bad. I forgot because it's technically spring season, but it
I don't know,
delayed.
man. They put like 3 episodes out in the spring.
I know.
So you
We'll
tell me.
add it real quick. Technically, it is spring. That's where it
I
shows
definitely
up.
feel like I finished it in the fall.
Oh, I did too. Or summer. Yes.
Summer.
So that brings us to our second to last anime, Deca-Dence. This one was interesting. It's a post-apocalyptic setting where the last remnants of humanity live in this fortress called the Deca-Dence. And then they fight these creatures called the Gadol. And that's essentially the gist of the synopsis for the show. You have your main characters, Natsume and Kaburagi. And that's pretty much who it mostly focuses on for the most part of the show.
Yep.
This one was airing on Funimation, and it's an original.
Yeah. You kind of missed the bit where at the end of episode 1 or the beginning of episode 2, you learn that the whole humanity living in the Deca-Dence as the last bastion of humanity is kind of a manufactured vision for humanity, because the robot overlords took over some time ago and they locked us in this cage, and we are now a tourist exhibit for the robots, the AI robots, and
essentially
that's
a game.
Yes.
To a degree, where the Gadol, they're all manufactured creatures by... They're not even...
The Gadol is a manufactured
robots,
terror to keep humans on the ropes and keep them locked up in the Deca-Dence. And the saviors are the robots who occupy humanoid bodies for sport to fight the Gadol.
Yeah, and it's treated as like different storylines with the Gadol and all of that. And in a pretty epic scene in the very first episode, you see that the Deca-Dence is also a weapon. A giant fist that is a giant rocket fist that is shot at like the giant versions of the Gadol that just like obliterates them. It's awesome. It's pretty freaking dope. But the story, it focuses on Natsume, who in the first episode we see that her father was killed saving her and she lost part of her arm. And it has Kaburi, our other main character, who is a I'm trying to think of the best. They're not even cyborgs. I wouldn't even know if they would completely call them
They're-
robots, because they're not like a manufactured intelligence. They're from what the backstory was. They might be at this point, but they were all
they're
human.
like AIs.
Sort of,
No, I don't think
yeah.
they're humans. I think they're AIs.
Okay, that's
And
fair.
they're-
I think at this point they're all AIs, but it started out like in one part of the show where they were like, yeah, humans just kind of transferred their intelligence to these
by
robots.
building the robots.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So
That's less important.
so they're AI robots, and they kind of beam their consciousness out of the robot bodies and into humanoid bodies to interact with the humans. There's a separation there. The humans don't know about the robots at this point, because I
Right.
guess eons ago that knowledge was lost to the humans anyway. But
Right.
the show itself is kind of a growth and coming of age story for the girl Natsume, and she wants to become one of the fighters for humanity, which she doesn't know is just robots. And she is accompanied by Kaburagi, who is like a ace fighter on the robot side. He's basically very good at playing their video game.
Yeah.
And the robot's main goal is to keep the humans in line, and he decides that the way they're going about it is wrong, and he turns vigilante on the robots and decides to overthrow his own people with the help of the girl. And that's kind of the core thrust for the show, is watching them grow together and watch Kaburagi work to overthrow the people, his own people. And
Yeah. It was... So you get... Just to roll it back a little bit, they do... So the first two episodes are very different from each other. The first episode is all showing the humans, or what we perceive as the humans. And then the second episode switches animation styles completely to show us like the background for Kaburagi in his like robot form. And it was jarring at first.
Yeah, that was something very unique to this show, is to highlight the distinction between the human world inside the Deca-Dence and the robot world, which literally the robots are orbiting over the Earth in space on a big spaceship.
Mm-hmm.
And to highlight the difference in scenes and characters and what's happening, they use almost like a Cartoon Network or like a Dexter's Lab style animation for the robots. It's hokey on purpose, but it's a strong artistic liberty they took with the show, which I think I ended up liking.
It took a minute to
saying.
enjoy. It was jarring at first, and I felt like we were both turned off to it initially. But I came around to it. I enjoyed like the distinction between the two groups that way. I thought that was really neat, and it was pretty it had to have been hard to do, to swap like animation styles for the studio, you know, to go from one to the other. And just kind of keep that going back and forth between each other. But I actually ended up thoroughly enjoying this show by the end of it.
Oh yeah, this was a good show. And what made this good too was this is another one of those shows that came to an end.
Yeah.
And I don't think that we're going to have another season of this. I don't know what they would do.
Especially with it being an original, that it had a very satisfying ending.
Yeah. This is another one, sit down and watch it in 4 hours and be done with it, and it's worth it. It was a good plot, good original ideas, I thought.
Yeah, I thought the combat system was pretty cool as well, where they have these like tankers that they fill up with the Godal's blood, and whenever they trigger like your flight or fight reaction with the Godal, and they like throw up this anti-gravity field around themselves, and then your group called the Gears, which were the warriors, had these like things that they could fly around inside these anti-gravity areas on these different fields of or like streams of like invisible, like I guess for lack of a better word, magnetic field or something that they use like these glasses to see. But it was cool.
It's how the robots built a fun interactive gameplay environment
Yeah.
for their hosts, if you will.
Yeah, it was quite neat, and it was a little bit reminiscent of like the gear from Attack on Titan to a degree.
Oh yeah,
It was similar combat styles to that, which was kind of neat to see in another anime.
Yeah, I never thought about that,
Mm-hmm.
but it did feel similar.
But it was fun. It had a good amount of action in most of the episodes. I thought the character development was definitely the best part of the entire series.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed this one and definitely would recommend it to people. Definitely, I feel like you need to power through. Give this one at least like 4 to 5 episodes and see if you like it.
Yeah, we were questioning it for the first few episodes, but once it hit its stride, we were like, yeah, this is good.
Yeah. Plus, we got to see the Deca-Dence fire its rocket fist multiple times, which was awesome.
Oh yeah. I love watching fisting.
No, me too. Nothing's better than watching a good fisting. And that's Deca-Dence. And that brings us to our last one, which was from the spring but finished up in the summer. Appare-Ranman.
It does say spring. That's wrong.
That's when it started airing. I like this one, I think.
Yeah.
It wasn't what I expected. I will say. So, from the synopsis of the show, basically you have your two main characters, Appare and Kosame, who are from Japan. Kosame gets roped into being on this steamboat that Appare built while he's just an inventor in Japan and he's just testing it out. But he was about to get arrested as well for whatever reasons. And they end up going out to sea and getting picked up by an American ship, and they end up in I believe it's Los Angeles, somewhere in California.
Yep.
And that's
they met up in the West.
Yep, they met up in the West. That's where they learn about this race, the first race of cars to go across America from the West Coast to the East Coast. And of course, Appare, being the inventor that he is, can't help himself but want to join in on the fun as well. And that leads to quite a bit of shenanigans and a giant steam-powered boat car.
Yeah.
And this was an original by PA Works and streamed on Funimation with 13 episodes. And I thought this was going to be more like a little Hanna-Barbera racing, but it turned into something a decent amount different, I would say, than what I expected.
A Western, Jared.
Yeah.
It turned into a Western.
Yeah, that's what it turned into.
Which was neat. I've never seen an anime Western. Yeah, this was fun. A little different, but enjoyable. I felt like the main character throughout was a little flat, which was by design. He was supposed to be kind of a not clueless, but single-minded and uncaring of the world around him. But
not in like a cold way, just kind of kind of cold, but more like focused on what he wanted to do.
Yeah,
to like the detriment of like the relationships of people around him to a degree.
Yeah, and to me, I felt like it detracted from the character just because it didn't feel realistic for human behavior.
Right, and that was kind of. Yeah, I would say the show in a whole kind of struggled with that because we had all of these very unique character designs for every single character. And I really would have enjoyed more if this would have been extended to like a 26 episode season and we got character backgrounds on all the characters. Because it really felt like the most background we got on anybody was Ji-Lin Jing, the female racer. Like, we actually got like some background to her character, but like...
Yeah, that's true. Like, everybody else got like 5 minutes.
Yeah. Like, we got a little bit for Dylan.
Is.
Like, a hint of Dylan's. We didn't get any background story besides like a little minuscule flashback for like TJ.
Yeah.
And like Al, we didn't really get anything. Hotato, we didn't really get anything besides him just trying to murder every single person
That's true. He liked
that
to kill
he
people.
thought that might have had something to do with his family getting killed or his father.
His character goal was to avenge his family, and
Yep.
his method of doing that would be, did you kill my family? I'm gonna kill you before I find out.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
He ended up trying to kill a bunch of people.
He's just this little kid. It was interesting, but yeah, I that's like my biggest gripe with the whole show is we had all these awesomely unique character designs, but like we didn't get that character development that I felt like we should have for each of those characters. You know, none of them felt generic at all, and I really wish we would have gotten more to each one.
Yeah, that's a good point. But the show was good enough in its own right.
Oh yeah, it was definitely fun. Like, I don't regret watching it. I didn't think it was bad. I just think it could have been much, much better.
Yeah. And if we're talking about negatives, I think it did feel a little hokey at times, which, you know, it's gonna come with the territory watching a Western. But
right.
It was good.
But yeah, the character designs were awesome. I loved the car designs as well, especially Appare's boat car and TJ's car with the face and the butt.
Oh yeah, that's right. His car had a butt.
Yep. And he was listening to hip hop on a record player, and it was amazing. That's like our first introduction to him, and he would just randomly start shooting his guns all the time, and it had like gun fu fighting, which was neat.
Yeah,
a mixture of them shooting at each other and using kung fu at the same time, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, we saw that for like 2 scenes.
Yep. But yeah, I don't want to give too many spoilers around this one because we did get a actual ending to this one.
Yeah.
But you had your main villain, which was Gil T. Cigar. And you get a little bit of a surprise on that one that you can kind of pick up on, but it was kind of neat as well.
Mm-hmm.
But this was it was a fun little show by PA Works. Like I said, I think the character development struggled somewhat, but the animation is fun. I wish they would have had a little bit more to do with the racing as well, I will say.
Yeah, they didn't race a whole lot, did they?
No, it felt like it was just like, okay, so let's go from point A to point B, and then we're going to have all this character dialogue, where it didn't really focus too much on the racing, which I thought the little bit of racing they did focus on was fun. Like I said, I think this one really could have done well if it was like a 26 episode show. I think that would have been the sweet spot for this one. It felt a little rushed.
Yeah. I don't think it felt rushed. I think it felt like they had more story to tell.
That could be. It felt like there could have been a lot more story to tell, but it felt like they had the story they wanted to tell. But I just wanted more. I think that's a better way of putting it.
Yeah.
They had in mind what they wanted to do. I just wanted more.
Yep.
I would recommend it to people. Another, like we've said about a couple shows this past season that we wrapped up on. 13 episodes. Can easily watch this one in an afternoon.
Yeah.
But that was Appare-Ranman, and that wraps up the summer review. It wasn't too bad of an anime season, considering everything with COVID that had delayed some shows. So,
yep,
it was pretty solid. I was pretty happy with what we watched.
We got some shows. I'd be able to watch Log Horizon right now, had COVID not come around, but gotta wait for that. Gotta wait for Krusty to come back a few more months.
Krusty's coming back.
He's coming back.
One of these days.
Boys.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening this week. We'll be back at you next week with another episode. Another big thank you for John for stepping in for Justin this week to help me out with the review of this season. Thank you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I can blabber about stuff.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
That's the whole part of the point of this. It's just me blabbering into a microphone. Some people listen.
Yeah. Whoop, whoop.
But we'll catch you again next week, guys. Bye.
Bye.